Hello everyone, this is Remlace from 40k Theories, and welcome to this new episode of 40k Lore for Newcomers. For this episode, we will be continuing with our brief look at the Warhammer 40,000 timeline. While these videos will typically focus more on humanity's actions throughout the timeline, certain important Xenos events will also be documented throughout. So without further ado, let's continue. The following account is a continuation of events occurring throughout M41. Because of how intricate and detailed the events of this time were, only certain key events will be mentioned, which in turn will be expanded upon in future videos. In addition, there is also a small chance for potential inaccuracies of specific dates due to contradicting sources. For events that occurred prior to this, make sure to check out the previous videos in the 40k timeline. 832 M41. An orc war led by the war boss Driller Killer invades the Periliac system, launching a full-scale assault upon the world of Periliac Prime. The Deathwing Company of the Dark Angels chapter deploys en masse, not to Periliac Prime, but to the moon of the nearby world of Minoria. The moon's inhabitants are either slain or taken prisoner by the Deathwing, who proceed to ignore all requests from Periliac Prime to help the world's defenders make a stand against the orcs. 835 M41. The Shrine World of Piety re-emerges from warp space, now transformed into a demon world. The Sororitas of the Order of the Sacred Rose launch a crusade to recover the sacred artifacts that still remain locked away within the Reliquary of Hope, one of the few locations upon the world that has yet to be corrupted by chaotic taint. The Order's canoness, Soraya, would personally lead an assault into the labyrinth beneath, and the Sisters of Battle would fight for 3 straight days before Soraya and 2 Celestians were able to fall back to the surface with a number of artifacts in tow. The Sororitas then managed to retreat into orbit mere moments before a fleet of the Grey Knights chapter of the Adeptus Astartes translates into the system. The Astartes then bombard Piety with cyclonic torpedoes, destroying the world utterly. 841 M41. The operational strength of the Ultramarines chapter's first company finally exceeds 50% strength for the first time since the Battle of Macragge. 845 M41. In Genis, Imperial Warmaster during the Dimmermac campaign is captured by a force of Drukhari raiders. This prompts the Imperium to assign bodyguards to all future Warmasters to prevent similar such events from occurring again. The reasons as to why Warmaster in Genis lacked bodyguards of any kind to begin with are never addressed. 850 M41. The Ordo Xenos branch of the Inquisition begins to conduct classified research into the biology of various tyrannid organisms upon the world of Beta Anphelion 4, in hopes of discovering a weakness that the Imperium can exploit against the High Fleets. This research becomes known in inquisitorial records as the Anphelion Project. Contact with the research facility is soon lost, and the Inquisitor Solomon Locke leads an investigation comprising of elements from the Astra Militarum, Adeptus Mechanicus, and the Red Scorpion Space Marine chapter. The world had become completely overrun by tyrannid organisms that had breached containment, evolved, and multiplied, and the Imperial investigation team begins to suffer horrendous casualties during the ensuing battles. The Red Scorpions eventually receive orders to evacuate the world, leaving Locke and the remainder of his forces to perish. All contact is lost with the world shortly thereafter. 855 M41. An orc war led by warboss Zanzag launches an assault upon the world of Black Reach. Distress calls sent from the world are answered by an ultramarine strike force led by Captain Cato Sicarius, who eventually succeeded in slaying the warboss. With the death of Zanzag, the Ultramarines leave the world's planetary defense forces to finish eliminating the remaining orcs upon the world. 871 M41. A combined Raven Guard and White Scars force liberates the world of Quintus from the demon prince Voldorius. Corsairo Khan of the White Scars Third Company defeats the demon prince in single combat, and returns to the White Scars Fortress Monastery of Quanzhou with the demon's severed head as a trophy. 878 M41. A force of pirates and traitor legion Astartes, led by the demon prince Makar, conquer a multitude of uninhabited worlds along the borders of the Ultramar Empire. This leads to the Battle of Halimar Rift, where Ultramarines' forces, led by Cato Sicarius, succeed in destroying the majority of this pirate fleet, and Makar retreats into the warp. 883 M41. Decadian 423rd Regiment of the Astra Militarum manages to decimate a traitor Titan legion, almost destroying it completely during a battle on the Planus Steppes, in the largest armoured conflict since the Battle of Talon. Imperial forces lose over 8,000 tank companies in the process. 886 M41. The Ecclesiarchy sends envoys to Fenris, the homeworld of the Space Wolves Space Marine chapter, due to reports surfacing of unsanctioned worship and rituals being performed by the chapter. This leads to a 3-week-long conflict between the Astartes and 3 orders of the Adeptus Sororitas, though the Ecclesiarchy is eventually forced to withdraw. 888 M41. The Black Templars chapter launches the Crusade of Wrath, and becomes successful in reclaiming many worlds near the Maelstrom Warp Rift from the Word-Bearer's traitor legion. The entirety of the Ultramarines chapter travels to the world of Comrath in order to defend the tomb of an ancient Ultramarines hero named Aura from the Eldari of multiple craft worlds, who had sought to obtain an artifact known as the Scepter of Galaxian. Chapter Master Manius Calgar succeeds in slaying an avatar of Cain in single combat, causing the Eldari to retreat. The scepter is then taken by the Ultramarines, where it is locked away within the Fortress of Hera upon Macragge. 895 M41. An Orc war led by warboss Grimtusk Bloodboiler is crushed by the combined actions of Eldari Aspect Warriors and the Space Wolves. Celebrations are cut short, however, as the former allies begin to open fire upon one another due to a simple mistranslation. 897 M41. The Imperium officially makes first contact with the Necron race, when a Necron warhost suddenly and swiftly destroys an Adeptus Sororitas convent within the Vidar sector, at a location known as Sanctuary 101. The organisms of High Fleet Colossus invade the world of Thraciax. The Wolf Lord Bran Redmore deploys a pair of Grey Hunter squads to defend the world's sole spaceport in order to buy the civilian population the time needed to evacuate. High Fleet Gorgon begins to cut a swath of destruction across the expanse of the Tau Empire. Over the course of the next 6 years, the Tau would form a truce with the forces of the Imperium, and the bulk of Gorgon's forces would be destroyed during the Battle of Kelishan, with the truce between the Imperium and the Tau Empire coming to an end shortly thereafter. 898 M41. The Necrons of the Aerotech dynasty acquire a shard of the Catan known as the Void Dragon from the maiden world of Silentia. The Void Dragon shard eventually manages to escape and all but destroys the Aerotech as the Catan shard laid waste to dozens of worlds. The shard would eventually be recaptured by the surviving cryptex of the Aerotech dynasty. 899 M41. One of the earliest confirmed and detailed conflicts between the Imperium and the Necrons occurs during the Battle of Carrion Deep, where the Executioner Space Marine chapter investigated what they perceived to be a distress signal upon the world. less than 30% of the chapter's forces managed to escape the carnage. 901 M41. The Death Guard Traitor Legion, led by the demon prince Mortarion, clashes with the Grey Knights chapter upon the world of Cornovin. Mortarion manages to slay Garoniton, the supreme Grandmaster of the chapter, during the course of the battle, causing the Grey Knights to temporarily withdraw. Kaldor Drago is appointed as the new Supreme Grandmaster of the chapter, and the Grey Knights would meet the Death Guard once more upon the field of battle. Drago would banish the Demon Primarch back into the warp, following the Grey Knight uttering the demon's true name and carving the name of his predecessor into Mortarion's very heart, destroying the Primarch's physical form. Mortarion would not forget this insult, and swears to one day have his revenge. And that concludes this portion of the Warhammer 40,000 timeline. Join us next time as we continue chronicling the events of M41. If you liked this video, consider supporting us on Patreon for more content. To those who are new to 40k, we hope you learnt something. So leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.